In a world filled with conflicting nutrition advice, one expert cuts through the noise to reveal the truth.
Hi, everyone, and thanks again for having me on. My name is Jackie. I am I have three jobs. I am a registered nurse, I am a fitness coach, and I am a nutrition coach. I saw a lot of people being admitted with diseases that are very much lifestyle related that could have been prevented if they would have had a better lifestyle.
Determined to make a change, she combines her knowledge of nursing with fitness and nutrition to help others age gracefully.
My goal with them is to lose some body fat, gain muscle, and to age gracefully and strong and get ready for that aging process.
From all corners of the globe, her clients achieve their body composition goals through flexible and personalized nutrition plans.
I work with Team Biolayne, so I work under Layne Norton, who is one of the foremost experts in this field. The reason you're not losing weight or hitting your goals is because
she tackles controversial topics head-on, debunking myths around diets, metabolism, and menopause.
You do have the power to maintain your muscle, even grow muscle. You can be in your 60s and still build muscles. I believe is the unsung hero of nutrition. You don't have to eat organic, people. You can eat regular fruits and vegetables. The dose makes the poison.
Discover just how easy it can be to eat well without being overly strict. Watch this episode of Youthful Aging Secrets now. Hey, what's up? Welcome to Youthful Aging Secrets. I'm your host, Ricardo Vasquez, and today's guest is Jacqueline Llovet. Jacqueline is a registered nurse with over 27 years of experience, a single mom of three, and a nutrition and fitness coach with Team Biolayne under Layne Norton, one of the biggest names and experts in the world of fitness and nutrition. Jacqueline is what I call a super ager because you'd never believe she's 50 years old and probably gets ID'd when going to the club. I wonder if she goes to the club. I forgot to ask her that. In any event, in this episode, we cover the truth about why most people gain weight and as they age, and no, it's not their metabolism. How Jacqueline and Layne Norton's science-backed approach helps clients find balance in life, fitness, and nutrition without sacrificing their favorite foods. Why flexible dieting is the key to long-term success and how you can have your cake and eat it too, literally. The shocking facts about protein, menopause, and how to build muscle no matter your age, and much more. Jackie is vivacious and her energy is infectious. Within the first 30 seconds, I think you'll see that for yourself. She's awesome. Enjoy. Now, before we start today's episode, I want to quickly tell you about my free 5 Health Hacks newsletter. If you're busy but still want to live as healthy as possible for as long as possible, this is perfect for you. No time to catch every podcast episode, follow all the experts, or stay on top of the latest health span and longevity research? That's exactly where my newsletter comes in. Every Monday, I send out a quote to inspire your week, a summary of the latest podcast episode, a quick breakdown of a health topic or question backed by the latest research and actionable takeaways, cool stuff I'm loving that week, and a thoughtful question to get you thinking deeper. And the best part, you can read it in the time it takes you to drink your coffee. If you're interested, head over to youthfulagingsecrets.com/subscribe and join for free. Let's get it. Jackie, thank you so much for being on Youthful Aging Secrets.
You're welcome.
We could just start off and you can let our listeners know a little bit about yourself and what you do and how you got here.
Sure. Hi, everyone, and thanks again for having me on. It's a pleasure. So my name is Jackie. I have 3 jobs. I am a registered nurse. I am a fitness coach, and I am a nutrition coach. So I've been a registered nurse, oh my goodness, almost 30 years, since 1997, and started my career in the hospital setting. Always have been very interested in health and fitness, and especially while working in the hospital, I saw a lot of admissions, a lot of people being admitted with diseases that are very much lifestyle related that could have been prevented if they would have had a better lifestyle. Diseases related to obesity, to high cholesterol, that kind of thing. So I wanted to not only work in healthcare, but also in preventative care. So that's how I meshed the nutrition and fitness with the nursing. I've been doing nutrition coaching for about 4 years now. I work with Team Biolayne. So I work under Layne Norton, who is one of the foremost experts in this field. Very honored to be a part of his team. So I also work as a nurse, and I also have my clients, and I help them with their body composition goals mostly. So my goal with them is to lose some body fat, gain muscle, and to age gracefully and strong.
So you're still a nurse, which is, I don't know how you juggle the time because I know you're a mom too, right?
Yes. Yes, I'm a single mom of 3, and I work as a nurse from home now. I did move from the hospital setting, so I work from home for an insurance company. And I also work with my nutrition and fitness, and all of that is done remotely. So I do online nutrition and fitness coaching, which is a great thing because I can help people from all over the world. I have clients that live in Australia and Europe and Canada. It's pretty cool what technology has been able to provide for us to be able to help people worldwide.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in the same boat. I love it as well.
Yeah.
So when it comes to nutrition, I find it very difficult to think that most of them will agree on everything. It seems to be a topic like a lot of controversies with fad diets and whether or not this diet's better than that. And so I'm just curious, with your approach to nutrition, what are some things that you think all diets have in common or that they all get right? And if there's a commonality between them that actually makes them work?
Yeah. I wouldn't say there are so many different approaches and so many point of views, right? But I would say the most important thing is caloric intake. And all of these diets, whether it be keto, whether it be intermittent fasting, what they're doing in order to lose weight is they're controlling the caloric intake of the person. So I have a very flexible approach to nutrition. Yes, we have these big rocks that we really want to focus on, right? So I really want to make sure my clients are eating a nutrient-dense diet where they're getting in enough protein, enough fiber, those nutrient-dense foods like vegetables and fruits and all of that good stuff. But I do have a flexible approach in that it's okay to have a piece of cake. It's okay to have a glass of wine on occasion. So I like to also incorporate that flexibility because the issue is when you're too strict with your diet, a lot of people will not adhere to it. And then they go into these binging and restricting type of cycles. And that is just not a good way to go. Also not a fan of super restrictive diets or where people slash their calories crazy. Again, they can't stick to it. They're not getting the nutrients they need. So my goal really is overall health. I want to make sure people are reaching their goals, but doing it in a healthy way, getting the nutrients they need, having those fun foods, because food is also for pleasure, not just for nutrition, but also for fun. In that sense, I definitely have a flexible approach.
So basically, it's the idea of calories in, calories out, right? Now, I understand that from a weight loss perspective. If somebody wants to lose weight, they need to burn more calories than they're ingesting. That makes sense. But what about the quality of the calorie itself? So, for example, I can get the same amount of calories in, let's say, chocolate bars and chips or whatever versus a steak and whatever. Let's say we match it. I know you mentioned calorically dense. How important is where you're getting the calories?
Yeah, it's not only the calories, but the nutrient quality, right? Because these macronutrients have essential functions in the body. So you want to make sure you're getting in enough protein. You want to maintain muscle mass. That's going to help you with your joints, with your ligaments. You want to make sure you're getting enough fat. That's going to help with hormonal function. And carbohydrates, which have gotten a really bad rap, but they shouldn't because they're what gives us the most energy. So glucose is the main fuel source for our brain. It's the main fuel source when we exercise. So nutrient quality is also as important. Yes, that flexibility, have the piece of cake, but the problem is if you only focus on calories and you're not getting those nutrients in, then you're not getting what your body needs. Also, these fun foods, if your whole diet is, let's say, chips and soda, not only are you not getting the nutrients you need, but that food is not satiating. It doesn't have fiber. So it's pretty much like some empty calories, which again, if you have 20%, let's say, of fun foods, that's great. Have fun with it, but the bulk of your diet should be mostly high protein, low in saturated fat, plenty of fruits and vegetables. So you're getting in all those vitamins and minerals so that you can function optimally.
I agree with that as well. I typically try to follow that myself. Now, there has been a lot of controversy around protein. Over the years, people had said you can only take in X amount of grams of protein per meal, or if you eat too much protein, it's hard on the kidneys, etc. Is there anything you can weigh in on whether or not those things are true and where they even come from? Because there's so much about it and it still lingers around today, right?
Yeah. So protein, if you have functioning kidneys, you can have a high protein diet. Protein does not damage your kidneys. Maybe if you have some chronic kidney issues, then absolutely follow your doctor's orders. But if you are healthy, don't have any kidney issues, absolutely you can have a high protein diet. Now, there is a nice spot as far as protein intake. Let's say someone does a carnivore diet where they're just focusing on protein. That's also not the best way to go, because now you're not eating enough fruits, you're not eating enough vegetables, you're not getting your fiber. So a great spot for protein intake is about 0.7 grams to 1 gram per pound of ideal body weight. So that's a good amount where you're getting in the protein you need, but at the same time, you still have enough calories for the other macronutrients. But protein is essential, especially as we age. Our protein needs do go up, because as we age, that's just a part of aging. You do lose muscle unless you are proactive about it. Now, if you are aging and eating enough protein, lifting weights, then you can mitigate that. Don't think that because, oh gosh, I'm 50, that's it, I'm losing my muscle, it's all downhill from there. No, you do have the power to maintain your muscle, even grow muscle, which is really cool. You could be in your 6 days and still build muscle. So there's really no cap there.
Yeah. Yeah, which is remarkable. My mom got into a fitness program right now, and she's losing a lot of weight. She's building muscle. She's doing things she was very interested in before. She's always maintained a fairly decent diet, but she just never wanted to lift heavy, and there was this stigma. She was like, I don't want to look like those bodybuilders, which is hilarious. So now she's actually taking it on, and I was myself surprised at how much she's actually starting to build muscle. I'm like, holy shit. Yeah. She's getting enough protein. She's watching her diet. Now, if somebody is building, right, muscle, like if their goal is obviously losing body fat, but also to build muscle, is it a little bit different than somebody who's just, let's say they just do more cardiovascular type exercise? Do they need to take in more protein because of the fact that they're lifting heavier?
Well, it's still the same range between 0.7 to 1 gram. Now, your protein needs, you should be at the higher end of that range if you're in a diet in a calorie deficit. Then in that case, yes, you should be at the higher end, but that's still a great range to be in. But I am definitely more mindful of the protein intake, making sure my clients are eating enough protein if they're in a calorie deficit, because the goal is for them to lose fat and not muscle. That's another issue with these fad diets. When you cut calories crazy and you're not lifting weights and you're not eating enough protein, yes, they're losing weight, but they're also losing muscle. So that is not the goal. The goal is to lose fat and not muscle. So when you are trying to build muscle, in actuality, if you are eating at maintenance or in a surplus, your protein needs are not as high as someone that's in a calorie deficit.
And so on the topic of calories, the biggest thing right now, I think, is intermittent fasting. This is something that's been going on, or other diets such as keto. Carnivore is like a huge one. I think those are like the two main ones. There's a lot of people who are in the media talking about carnivore, and even somebody like Joe Rogan was like, oh, I eat mostly carnivore and stuff. And I personally don't agree. That's probably not the best approach. However, they do seem to be doing well. And so my question is, why is that? Why are they doing well despite what the science seems to point that it's maybe not the most optimum diet?
Yeah,
Just curious.
because they're controlling their calories. So again, it comes down to calories, but it is not the ideal diet. You're absolutely right. So when you are eating just meats, depending on the meats you're having, if you're having mostly red meat, then your saturated fat intake may be too high, which is linked to heart disease. And your fiber intake is going to be low, which fiber, I believe, is the unsung hero of nutrition. Fiber, a high fiber diet, decreases your risk for so many diseases. So it's going to decrease your risk of certain cancers. It's going to decrease your risk of cardiovascular disease. It's going to help improve digestion. It's going to decrease risks of things like diverticulitis, digestion. It's going to help you go to the bathroom regularly, all of that good stuff. So that's the main problem with the carnivore diet, is that they are not eating whole grains, they're not eating fruits, they're not eating vegetables, and that is definitely an issue long term.
Why are they demonizing vegetables, particularly? They say vegetables are not made for human consumption. They have these toxins, et cetera, et cetera. To me, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But these same people that do promote it seem to be doing well, not just from their body fat or their body composition, but according to them, their blood work, their biomarkers, everything are doing well.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, why wouldn't they be showing a higher incidence of cancer or other things? Is there not enough data? Because I haven't really followed the studies, to be honest.
Yeah. There may not be enough data, and it's still pretty new as far as I'm aware of. So a lot of these things aren't going to show up until years and years of this malnutrition. So a lot of times it takes, just like a smoker, like you could be 30 years smoking and you don't see those ill effects until later down the line, and genetics, of course, plays a role as well. Some people are going to do better than others, but definitely long term, it will be interesting to see what happens with them long term when they're not consuming the fiber and all of these other nutrients they need. As far as why do they do it, I don't know. Why do they promote this? I don't know. A lot of people do a lot of clickbait type of content, more views, say things that are radical, you get more views. Also, people like the easy route. If you just say, okay, just eat this, it makes it easy. They don't have to put a lot of thought into that. So a lot of times that's why a lot of these fad diets, people just jump on the bandwagon, because if you say, okay, just cut carbs, it doesn't take as much thought as someone that has a more well-rounded nutrition. That takes a little bit more planning on your part, a little bit more mindfulness. And unfortunately, a lot of people want the easy way, and which is really sad. Your body isn't like Amazon. It takes time, it takes effort, and those fast results really are not something that's going to last long term.
You did mention something I thought was interesting. You said that fiber, you feel like it's like the unsung hero of nutrition. Why is that?
Because it decreases the risk of so many diseases. It decreases the risk of certain cancers, things like colon cancer. It helps with cardiovascular diseases. So it helps reduce, people that consume fiber tend to have lower cholesterol. So it's just has so many health benefits. Also, people that have a higher fiber diet, that fiber keeps you satiated, like the protein. So all of my clients, I give them a protein target and a fiber target. I want to make sure they're eating enough fiber, because those foods that are high in fiber are also very rich in nutrients. So the foods that are high in fiber are going to be your whole grains. So things like oatmeal, wheat bread, brown rice, quinoa, fruits, veggies, beans are a great source of fiber as well. So you want to make sure you are having these foods every day.
Yeah. And again, it's just so difficult with navigating the world of nutrition, because then there's people that are like, stay away from legumes and stay away from whole grains. And
yeah. And it's really sad because it's created a lot of eating disorders. So a lot of people are scared to eat certain things, and it's extremely sad. And that's why at Team Biolayne, we really promote flexibility and not demonizing foods. Yes, there's foods that have higher nutrient quality, but we don't want to demonize any foods, because there's so many people suffering from eating disorders. And that's actually, eating disorders are the psychological diagnosis that has the highest mortality rates. people with anorexia, with bulimia, higher mortality rates than other psychological diseases. So this is like real stuff. And that's why I'm sure you follow Layne and you see how passionate he is. And sometimes it comes off very strong going after these charlatans. But that's why, because then these clients come to us with eating disorders and scared and confused. So that's why we try and promote the truth and try and put a dent in all of this misinformation.
Right. Now on the topic of like fruits, vegetables, things like that, what's your opinion on, let's say, organic versus non-organic and pesticides and things like that?
Yeah, you don't have to eat organic, people. You have to eat organic. You can eat regular fruits and vegetables. So something that Layne says that I love, and it's true, is the dose makes the poison. So let's say Tylenol. You can have one Tylenol and be fine. Now, have a whole bottle of Tylenol, then yeah, you're going to have some issues, right? So it really depends on the dose of things. So as far as organic, you do not have to eat organic. They really bump up the prices. The amount of pesticides and things are not anything that's going to harm you. I've never seen anyone come into the emergency room because they had too many strawberries that weren't organic. It's not a life and death thing. So definitely you don't have to do it. It's overpriced and not necessary.
Yeah, it's so expensive. It's hard to justify. When you're looking at, let's say, a pack of strawberries here in Canada is like $4.99. But organic's like sometimes $11.99.
Yeah. Save your money. It's not. Yeah.
But it's the things I've heard is that it's something that accumulates over time. Is that even a thing? Is that possible that you, in a short span, you might not get enough that it's poisonous, but over time, perhaps it's affecting us or not? I don't know.
Yeah, not that I'm aware of. But honestly, I haven't read any recent studies on that as well. But again, it's really that dose makes the poison. So pretty much you can take any food and make it sound toxic. But how much amount of this specific chemical does this food have? And again, people say, oh, this is processed, it has chemicals. Everything has chemicals. We're made of chemicals. We're all made of carbon, of hydrogen. Everything is a chemical. So if you put it that way, then everything is toxic. And it's just not the case. People are focusing on the wrong things. Instead of focusing on eating organic, but then you're sedentary. And how about let's exercise, let's move your body, let's eat a balanced diet, let's make sure you're getting enough sleep, let's limit alcohol, let's not smoke. Those are really the big things that are going to make the difference, not whether or not you eat organic. That's not one of the big rocks.
With respect to like windows of time when you eat, so for example, intermittent fasting, are those things you focus on with your clients at all, or is it just based off what they can stick to?
Yeah, my clients have a very personalized approach. So it's whatever works best for them. Some of my clients do enjoy intermittent fasting. They think, you know what, I'm not really hungry in the morning. I'm not a breakfast person, and that's absolutely fine. As long as they're getting in the nutrients they need throughout the day, I'm very flexible with that. There's nothing wrong with intermittent fasting if that's something that somebody enjoys. I don't really like the 1 meal a day approach, but if you have like that fasting window where you're eating for 8 hours and you're getting in multiple doses of protein, that's fine. But intermittent fasting isn't this magic thing that people think. It's just pretty much a good way to control your calorie consumption. But yeah, I'm very open to, if my clients enjoy it, absolutely they could do it. If they can adhere to their diet better that way, then good for them. Other people like to eat 5 times a day. That's fine too. Whatever works for them.
I used to do the 1 meal a day, and I always felt like it was almost impossible to hit my caloric needs personally. I would just get so full before I could hit it, and it just didn't last long. So what's your reasoning behind why you don't prefer that?
The 1 meal a day?
Yeah.
Not only that, but because of muscle protein synthesis. So muscle protein synthesis occurs about every 4 to 5 hours. So that's a great time for you to get in a dose of protein every couple of hours so you can maximize that muscle protein synthesis. There are some things that people used to believe, such as you have to get protein in within 30 minutes of your workout. That is a myth. As long as you're getting your protein for the day, you're good. But definitely, if you want to maintain muscle, grow muscle, it's going to be optimal for you to have multiple doses of protein throughout the day so you could really take advantage of that muscle protein synthesis. So ideally, you also want a complete protein source, which is something vegans tend to struggle with. They need to make sure they're getting in all the essential amino acids, which you can find in animal products. Some vegetable products, but not as much. So you want to make sure you're getting all essential amino acids to help with that muscle protein synthesis.
With the whole 30 minutes to get protein after a workout, that's incorrect?
Incorrect.
Is there a window of time, or is it just within that 24-hour period thing?
Usually I recommend about within 2 hours. Yeah. But you definitely have time for sure.
Yeah, because you still see guys, running to the locker with the shake. 100%.
Yeah, there's still a lot of bro science out there for sure.
Funny. I'm not going to lie. I used to be that guy many years ago.
Yeah, you know better.
Well, I didn't know better. I just stopped doing it because I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm going to eat when I can eat. And there'll be maybe 2 hours, an hour or two, whatever. Yeah. And I never noticed the difference as far as I didn't feel like I was wasting away or not getting my gains.
Right. Yeah, you're not going to lose your gains.
That's funny. Okay, what about, so we talked about intermittent fasting. But you hear a lot of times people say don't eat too close before bedtime. If you're going to sleep at, let's say, 10, they say give yourself a 2 to 3 hour window as it can interrupt sleep. Do you agree with that?
It depends on the person and what makes them feel better. So yeah, some people do not like to eat before bed. They feel like it ruins their sleep. But everyone is different. So you really have to take a personalized approach. And what does it work? How does it work? How does your body work? How do you feel best? I personally am someone that I always eat right before I go to bed. Right before I go to bed, I have a snack because when I don't, I'll wake up at 2 a.m. with my stomach growling. So everybody's different. And other people, they cannot even eat an apple before bed because they feel full, they can't sleep. So I would say a personalized approach in that sense. What feels best for you? But the idea of you can't eat after 7, you're going to gain weight, that is a myth. You can eat up until bedtime if it feels good for you, if you enjoy it, absolutely fine. What really matters is how many calories did you ingest throughout the day. So as long as you're in a calorie deficit, you can still lose weight.
What about people who have thyroid issues and they say, oh, I do eat less, but I'm still gaining? Is that even possible despite any medical conditions?
Yeah. So someone with hypothyroidism, if their thyroid levels are off, then absolutely it could cause some weight gain. But if you have hypothyroidism and you are receiving the proper treatment and your thyroid levels are within normal limits because you're taking the medications you need to get your thyroid levels where they need to be, then you can lose weight just like anybody else. Same exact factors apply. Yes, so that is a myth. If you have hypothyroidism, you can lose weight as long as you are taking the proper medication, as long as you're getting treated for your hypothyroidism.
Okay, and if they're not and their levels are off, then they can see weight gain even though they're following their caloric restrictions.
Well, the calories still matter, even if you do have hypothyroidism. The key is, or they may not have a lot of energy. They may not be moving as much. They may be sedentary. So that also plays a role. How much are you moving throughout the day? So calories still matter. But if you have certain diseases, then yes, of course, it makes it a little bit harder. But again, whenever I work with someone that has hypothyroidism, all of my clients send me their labs and I see how are their labs? Are their labs within normal limits? If they have an issue, then I refer them to their primary care physician so they can get that looked at.
How do you recommend people track their calories?
Yeah, it depends on the client. So I do encourage people to track their calories, weighing their food. It doesn't have to be forever, but I think it is such a great learning experience because people really have no idea what a correct portion size is. And if you compare, let's say I was born in the 70s, what a meal looked like in the 70s compared to now at a restaurant, portion sizes have gotten so much larger, right? Not only have portion sizes gotten much larger, a lot of people are working from home, have desk jobs, they're not moving as much. So this has really caused a big issue with obesity. For my clients to weigh and measure their food, it is eye-opening for them when they see, what does 4 ounces of chicken really look like? What does a cup of rice really look like? What does a serving of peanut butter really look like? Because a serving of peanut butter is not big.
I know.
And unless you weigh it out and, oh my God, this is what 32 grams of peanut butter looks like, it's so eye-opening. So I encourage everyone to do that. You don't have to do it forever. You don't have to track forever, but it's such a great learning experience to learn what is a proper serving size. And it's also very empowering once you track for a while. Like, you can go out to eat and kind of eyeball things. Like, I can go out to eat and see, this is about 6 ounces of filet that I'm having. This is about a cup of broccoli that I'm having, just because I've been tracking for so long. So it's definitely a learning experience. I have had clients too in the past that do not want to track, that they say, it makes me anxious, I get obsessive about it. And so I work with them on that. So clients like that, what I encourage them to do is to take pictures of their food. They send it to me and I have a look, and then I can give them feedback that way. But overall, I really think everybody should do it at least for a couple of months, just so you could see what is a correct serving size of something.
Do you recommend tracking it with an app of some sort? I know Layne has a pretty cool app.
Yes, especially if you have body composition goals. That way you can know, let me weigh everything. How many calories am I actually eating? And it also helps with mindfulness. It's pretty cool. When my clients start with me, that first week, I just have them track what they're already eating, right? What are you actually eating? And just by people starting to track, it makes them so mindful. And even before I even give them their plan or their target, a lot of times that first week they lose weight. Just by tracking and knowing I'm looking at it, that makes them more mindful. It's human nature. They might eat mindlessly. You might be making dinner and having some chips at dinner. You might be picking up your kids' leftovers, and all of these calories add up. A lot of times just being mindful, and tracking does cause a lot of mindfulness, you could really cut back on hundreds and hundreds of calories.
Yeah. And do you recommend something like meal prep?
It depends on the person. I have some clients that don't even cook, and you could still reach your goals even if you don't cook. So the beautiful thing is, places like Costco and even grocery stores, they have convenience foods that are already cooked that you could just grab and go. So for people like that, I recommend things like picking up a rotisserie chicken, picking up the rice that's already cooked, you just stick it in your microwave, picking up frozen vegetables, you just have to warm it up. So there's an option for everyone. People that work very long hours, weekdays, I do work with a lot of professionals, work very long hours. Then for them, meal prepping may be a great option. On Sunday, have a bunch of meats prepared, have a pot of rice ready, cook up some potatoes. That is also a great, great strategy. Absolutely. So again, personalized, depends on the person, depends on their lifestyle. Some people love meal prepping, other people wanting something different every day. So it really depends on the individual, but meal prepping is absolutely a great idea. If that's something you'd like to do and you think it's going to work for you, it definitely makes things easier just to have stuff ready in the fridge.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're much less likely to cheat or go off the rails because it's ready, it's there. When you get hungry, that's where that willpower goes down, I feel. That's where the bag of chips is easier to grab versus Tupperware that has your meal ready.
It's a great idea.
Okay, so shifting gears onto the exercise side of things.
Yeah, my favorite.
I don't think there's one that's more important than the other. I think all these things go hand in hand for our health, like sleep and nutrition and that. But do you feel like fitness is the component that is most important, that gets people going in the right direction? Or do you think it's the nutrition? Which one do you think leads the way?
They work hand in hand, really. They work hand in hand. But I say anyone that's trying to make a lifestyle change, if whatever route they go with, that's a win, and let's celebrate it. I don't want to tell anyone ever, I started exercising, but I haven't watched my diet yet. I encourage them, oh my God, that's wonderful. And a lot of times then they'll go ahead and slowly get into the nutrition side of things. But they're both equally important for our health. Absolutely. So I don't want to say one is more important than the other. They go hand in hand, but I definitely want everybody to move. A lot of people ask me, what's the best form of exercise? What's the best thing to do? And anything really is going to be a win because people are just so sedentary. If you enjoy, I don't know, doing a dance class, awesome. You're moving, you're going out, you're socializing. That's awesome. So I always encourage people and ask them, what do you enjoy doing? Because I want them to be able to stick with it. And then as we continue to work together, we try and tweak things little by little to make it a little bit more optimal.
Right. Yeah. So I guess it's like you say, what exercise do you like? Honestly, it's not the best one. They all work. It's the one that you're going to stick to.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
I agree with that.
Exactly. Consistency is the key. A lot of people say, what's best? What's best? What you can stick to is what's best for you. That is the key. Adherence and consistency are the game changers. If you follow a plan for 3 months and then the rest of the year you don't, then you're like a beginner. Every time you start over, you're a beginner. So even when people come to me to lose weight, and after they're done working with me, I want them to keep up the same habits. You're still going to focus on your nutrition. You're still going to exercise. The only difference is if you're not dieting, you're going to have a little extra food, but the habits are going to be the same. And this is a lifestyle. Exercise shouldn't be put on the back burner when life gets busy. Yes, maybe you have less time to dedicate to it, but something is always better than nothing.
I totally agree. With my mom as the example, she loves fitness classes, particularly Zumba and things where they're dancing. And so I got her a membership with something that comes with all that. And I told her, just don't worry about the weights and just do your classes, even if just start with once a week. Because I understood that once she develops that habit, it's going to leak into other areas. And then before you know it, she's going to start doing the weights. I just know the pattern. So I don't say anything. And then I started to see it.
Yeah.
But it's the thing she loved because she was excited to go. She didn't want to miss her class. Right. So for me, it was like, no, do your thing. Do what you like.
Yeah.
Because you want to get that behavior. And then people develop the identity, right? They start to say, oh, I'm an active person. And so I totally agree with that. With respect to fitness, I guess you are a proponent, though, at some point. Hopefully, you guide them in the direction of strength training, where they try and get stronger and build some muscles, right? Because I think that the evidence is undeniable that strength is so important for longevity.
Absolutely. Not only longevity, but quality of life. So as a nurse, now currently I work for the insurance company, and almost every day I have patients that have a fracture. My little elderly patients, they fall, they have a fracture. So this is a huge problem as people age. They lose their strength, they lose their muscle, they're unable to do activities of daily living. So a lot of people have that idea when you say strength training, they think of Arnold Schwarzenegger and all these big bodybuilders. And that's not the case. Strength training is for everyone. And it's so important, especially as we age. Number one, like I said, sarcopenia is a reality of aging. The loss of muscle is a normal part of aging. But if you do resistance training, you're going to preserve that muscle mass. Number two, it increases bone density. So all these patients that are falling and fracturing something, if they have a good bone density, that could be prevented. Just doing things like getting on and off the toilet, something as simple as that. Strength training is going to help with that, maintaining that independence as you age. So in a perfect world, I would love for everybody to be strength training. It just has so many great benefits, not only physical, but mental, decreases depression. Any really exercise will do that. Increases confidence. It also increases, or it helps you with that delayed gratification. Learning, this takes time. A lot of people want things instant, but something like building muscle is actually a slow process. So you really have to enjoy the journey, and you really develop that skill of delayed gratification, which I think is a great skill to learn. It's interesting because a lot of overweight people think, oh, my metabolism is slow. But in studies, when they've checked, their metabolism is normal, and sometimes even a little bit higher than a leaner person because they have more muscle underneath that.
Oh, that's crazy.
So it's really not that. A lot of times it's more so your non-exercise activity. This is something really huge. And they found in studies that people that are obese tend to move less throughout the day. And I'm not talking about structured exercise. I'm not talking about going out for walks or that kind of thing. But non-exercise activity are the movements we're not aware of. So you see how I'm talking, I'm moving my hands. This is non-exercise activity. And people that tend to be leaner or even that compensate, let's say I eat more. I'm one of those people, when I eat more, I start to move more. So my body compensates. I move through those calories. So they find that people that are obese tend to have a lower non-exercise activity than those that tend to be leaner.
Interesting. I didn't know that, actually, that their metabolism works in some cases it's even higher than a lean person. That's crazy. I do martial arts, and there's people there that are losing weight, and even while they're losing weight, they're telling me like, oh yeah, it's a struggle because I have a really slow metabolism. I never really knew whether that's true or not.
No, unless they have a metabolic disease, no. Their metabolism most times is normal, but a lot of times they're less sedentary, or not only the exercise that we're aware of, like going to exercise, going to walk, but their non-exercise activity may be lower. And a point to make is these weight loss drugs that are out now, things like Ozempic, people that think their metabolism is broken, they go on Ozempic and they lose weight. Ozempic has zero effect on your metabolism. What it does is it suppresses their appetite. So it has nothing to do with your metabolism. By suppressing their appetite, they're eating less calories. Voila, they lose weight, just like anybody else. Some of these obese people have higher appetites, so it's harder for them to stick to a diet. It's not fair to say they're choosing to be this way. Some people, absolutely, it's very individualized. Some people's appetites are a lot higher than others. That is definitely true. How much they move throughout the day is a factor. Stress levels. There's so many things that are a factor.
Right. Interesting. Now, what are your thoughts on supplements?
Supplements are a supplement to our diet. They are not needed. So are they required? Absolutely not. Are there some that it may be a good idea to take? Yes. So as far as supplements, when people ask me what do I recommend, number one on my list is creatine monohydrate. It is the most researched supplement on the market. It's extremely safe. So it helps with lean mass. It helps with recovery after you exercise. It helps with being able to exercise, like getting more reps, let's say, in a set. And now the latest research is showing that it's also helping with cognitive function. So they're even recommending that for people for cognition. So creatine monohydrate would be my number one pick. Other things that could be a good idea are a multivitamin, omega-3 fatty acids, multivitamins, because even if you have a diverse diet, you may not be getting all the vitamins you need on a daily basis. Omega-3s, you may not be getting in enough salmon and those fatty fish sources. Not so many foods have the omega-3, so that's a good idea. Caffeine is a good idea. It helps with cognition. It helps with how you exercise. So caffeine's another good one. So those are like my top ones, not a lot.
What about vitamin D3 for people that are more, yes. I think the darker your complexion, the less you absorb vitamin D3, if I understood that correctly. And of course, climates where you're not getting a lot of sun. So for example, here in Canada right now specifically, we're still in winter, and of course we get sun, but it's not a lot. And because it's colder, we're not outside, and you're wearing a jacket and this and that, so you're not really getting exposure. I think in countries like that, it might be something to look at.
Yeah, that vitamin D, absolutely. You make a great point. So your multivitamin is going to have vitamin D in it, but I do recommend everyone get their labs done. And that's one of the labs that should be routinely checked are your vitamin D levels. You're absolutely right. People are not outside as much, depending where they live. A lot of people are vitamin D deficient. Some people need prescription strength vitamin D if their vitamin D levels are very low. So absolutely always, at least once a year, maybe more regularly, depending on what your doctor recommends, you should definitely get your labs checked. And if there's any specific vitamin that you are deficient in, you might need more than just that regular daily supplement.
Right. Cool. And protein powders?
Yeah, protein powders are another good one. So if you're not able to get in your protein needs, a lot of people struggle with eating protein for some reason.
How many grams do you get per day yourself?
Yeah, 120 grams, but I'm a small person. I only weigh 118 pounds, so I'm right at that, about 1 gram per pound. If you're going to have a protein supplement, I would recommend Whey is a great one. It has all the essential amino acids. And absolutely, if you are not able to get in all your protein needs through just whole foods, a protein shake is a great idea, or even putting protein powder, like let's say in a yogurt to up the protein content, or in your oatmeal. Yeah, protein is a great one.
Okay. And when you take it or how you take it doesn't really matter, I guess.
No, not at all. And it's perfectly safe. It's made from milk. It's a milk byproduct. Yeah.
I was actually going to touch on the creatine thing because I was very interested in your opinion on it. I haven't taken creatine in many years, and I've actually started to think about maybe trying it because I heard even that you can take it pretty much for the rest of your life. It's that safe. It's not something you need to cycle. No. Before it was just a sports enhancement type thing. But now, like you said, there's a lot of research on the cognitive benefits of it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. When they start with me, they all get like a welcome guide, and in there I include supplements I recommend. A lot of them are already taking it, and the ones that aren't, a lot of them do take it once they start working with me. But yeah, I definitely highly recommend it. It's extremely inexpensive, and it's something that you do have to take daily. So it's a little powder. The dose is 5 grams. Most bottles will tell you if you want to do a loading dose to start. You don't have to do that because that loading dose, a lot of people might have some GI disturbances from that. So just take the regular 5 grams. And then usually it takes about 2 weeks to saturate the muscle fully. You could put that in your coffee. You could put it in your protein shake, however is most convenient. Some creatines come flavored, but many ways to take it. And yeah, it is a daily thing. As long as it's creatine monohydrate is the one you want.
Yeah, I'm actually going to start taking it myself. I did it when I was in my mid-teens, and I did it for a few years off and on. Back then, there was a lot of fear-mongering about, oh, it's bad for your kidneys and this and that. So I kind of just stopped. I mean, I was fine. But...
yeah, it's a good one.
So with the protein, if somebody is lactose intolerant, are there other suggestions you might make?
Yeah, there's vegan protein powders out there. Pea protein is a good one. There's some soy ones. So definitely there's some vegan options out there. So that's absolutely fine. And some people will take something like a lactate and take a regular whey, as long as they're taking the lactate that helps them digest that lactose.
What are some of the biggest misconceptions? I know we touched on some of them, but some of the things that you've heard or you've seen that just drive you nuts.
Things that drive me nuts. Yeah. I don't have time. That drives me nuts. Okay. I don't have time to work out. I don't have time to eat healthy. Yes, absolutely. Not everybody has the same 24 hours in a day, right? Some people are definitely busier. A new mom is not going to have the same time as a college student. So absolutely, that is true. 20 minutes, 3 times a week, you can get so many health benefits from that. To say you don't have time, yet you watch Netflix every night, that is more to me a priority issue, more so than a time issue. So that does grind my gears. because especially someone like me, it's a priority. It's a priority. So that's one thing. People that give up too quickly, that's frustrating and it's disheartening, where they want to see quick results, and when it doesn't happen, they quit. So they're on this, they go and they quit and they go and they quit, and it's just this constant cycle, and they're spinning their wheels and they're never going to reach their goals by doing that. So that's definitely something that's sad to see when people struggle with that. And people that believe all these myths, carbs, I can't eat carbs, I'm going to gain weight. That is definitely another one that I'm like, no, yes, eat carbs. They're good for you. You're going to feel great. And it's funny because a lot of clients that come to me are mostly, they want to lose weight, right? So I put them in a calorie deficit, but I give them these macro targets. So now it's funny, after a couple of weeks of working with me, they tell me I'm eating less, but I have more energy. I feel great. I'm not hungry. How's that possible? And I'm like, well, it's because of the quality of your diet. Now you're eating protein. Now you're eating fiber. You're eating carbs, so you have more energy. So it's pretty cool to see when they have that flip is switched in them, when they become believers.
Now, actually, on the topic of getting started and people who want to stick to it, right? Do you have a process to get people to start building those habits?
Yeah, I give them habits that I want them to work on. So I give them a step target. I want everybody walking. So if it's someone that's very sedentary, I start off with a lower step target, usually at about 7,000 steps. And for them, a lot of them, this is a huge change for them to go from sitting all day to now I have to go on planned walks. Now I have to start moving. So everybody has a step target. Everybody, I want them focusing on fiber. We also talk about sleep. We talk about stress. These are two huge things that people don't look at, and it has a huge impact on your results. If you're not sleeping enough, if you're constantly stressed, finding ways to cope, because that's a huge issue, the stress thing. I have clients come to me that are stress eaters. So when life gets crazy, they turn to food. It's a comfort thing. Not so much that they're hungry. It's more of a coping mechanism. So I do work on them with other ways to cope with stress, making sure they're hydrated. If it's someone that's been drinking a lot, trying to modify, not eliminate it, but decrease alcohol consumption. So those are the main things. Exercising, of course, depending on their time. Some clients are only exercising twice a week, and that's okay. They have their step target, they're lifting weights twice a week, and that is such a huge win. They could stick to that. So as far as exercise, it depends on their schedule. I have some people exercising twice a week, some people that lift 5 times a week, depending on their schedule, depending on their fitness level, all of that. So it is very much an individualized program. My clients all have different programs depending on their goals, on what's going on with their life, on how much time do they have to commit.
As far as water, is there a ratio you follow?
This is going to sound funny, but
drink when you're thirsty.
If you're thirsty, you're already dehydrated.
Yeah, that's weird.
Well, if you're hydrated is when you go to the bathroom, take a look at the color of your urine.
Yes.
If your urine is dark, you're dehydrated. If your urine is pale yellow or clear, then that's a good sign that you're hydrated. I don't go so much by you have to drink this many ounces of water because, again, everyone's hydration needs are different depending on your climate. How much do you sweat? How big of a person are you? I tell them, when you go to the bathroom, take a look at that. What color is your urine? And if you're not thirsty and your urine is a very pale color, you're good to go. You are drinking enough.
And as far as the macronutrient ratios, is there a percentage ratio, or does that also depend on the person's goals and their activity level?
Not only their goals, but their preferences. The first thing that I calculate is their protein needs. Then carbs and fats are pretty interchangeable. So even though I give them a carb and fat goal, I tell them don't stress about the carbs and fats. They can fall where they may. What I want you to focus on is calories and protein. Those are the biggest things when it comes to body composition. We have a little bit more flexibility there. So we don't have to stress so much about that. But we do need at least 20% of calories to come from fats because, again, like I mentioned earlier, it's important for hormonal health, for maintaining your body temperature. Every macro has a function. So I want to make sure you're getting in at least 20 to 30% of your calories are coming from fats. But other than that, there is definitely some flexibility there. And then the calorie target is going to depend on their goals as well. Are we dieting? Are we in a fat loss phase? Are we just trying to maintain your current body weight? Are we trying to build muscle? Are you in a calorie surplus? So then I calculate what are their caloric needs based on their goals. Then I hit the protein next, and then the carbs and fats is the last thing that I calculate.
Right. And as you mentioned earlier, fiber is so important. So do you incorporate that into their routine by saying X amount of veggies a day, X amount of fruits a day, oatmeal, things like that?
Yeah, it depends. If it's someone that's not tracking, then that's when I tell them I want you to eat 5 servings of vegetables, let's say, a day. If it's someone that's tracking, not so much. I'll just take a look at their food log. I could see whether or not they're eating their vegetables. So for them, I tell them how much fiber I want them to eat a day. So a good range for your viewers to know is 14 grams of fiber per 1,000 calories consumed is where you want to be. So if you are eating 2,000 calories a day, 28 grams of fiber is a good spot to be in.
14 grams per 1,000 calories consumed.
Correct.
When I say longevity, it's not just how long you live, but it's the quality of those years. I really like the word health span. How long can you live optimally? Not just live. I think it's the quality of those years that matter the most, for sure.
Absolutely. And a lot of people that don't believe in this lifestyle will tell me things like, well, you're going to die anyway. You might as well have fun. And I'm like, well, yeah, I could die tomorrow. Like, we don't know how many days we have left. But by living this lifestyle, like, I could totally see the difference between myself and people my age that do not have this lifestyle. So when you're in your 20s and 30s, you don't see that big of a difference between people that are health conscious and active and those that are sedentary. You don't see it as much. Once you start to hit 40, 50, 60, you can really tell the difference between, I'm 50 now, between myself and my friends that do not take care of themselves. It is night and day. And I know it's my lifestyle. Like, we'll go on vacation and I'm like, let's do this, let's do that. They're like, how do you have all this energy? Because I take care of myself. And they're like dead by 4 o'clock. And I'm like, what's next? So it really, to me, it's really about feeling good. Like, I want to feel good. I want to be able to enjoy my life. If my kids want to go for a hike, let's go. I don't want to ever say no. I can't do that because of my physical limitations.
I couldn't agree with you more. I'm 100% on the same page as you, for sure. And you know what? You said 20s and 30s, you can't tell. Let me tell you something. I do martial arts and stuff, and I see some of these young guys who, even though they're in the gym exercising, I see the ones that don't take care of their health. They live off empty calories, and they can get away with it for now.
Right.
But I do see it, though, in their performance. And they're like, holy shit, man. Like, how are you have more energy than me? It's like, I sleep, but I try to eat well. I train to improve my VO2 max, to strength train, all that stuff. So it shows up, and they don't. And I got 20 years on them, and a lot of them are not in shape, even though they're exercising. But they're not doing it for health. They just want to fight or whatever. So I totally agree with you. And we all have family members who don't take care of themselves, and you get together for the holidays, and almost they poke fun at you, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, they want you to get drunk or wasted, and I was like, no, I'm good, man, because I don't want to feel like shit tomorrow. I know what, like,
right, absolutely, yeah. So I let it roll off my back. If you commit to this lifestyle, you will hear comments from people, and you just have to have thick skin. And I don't throw my lifestyle onto anyone. But if someone asks me for advice, I give them advice, absolutely. But, people, especially knowing I'm a nutrition coach, if I go to a party, they're like, oh, I can't eat this in front of Jackie. And I'm like, I don't care what you eat. Like, I'm not judging anyone. If you want advice, I give it. If not, do your thing. I'm not judging anyone.
But the funny thing is, I don't shove my beliefs down people's throat either. And I'm not one to sit there and preach, because to be honest with you, I may be doing it wrong myself. I don't really know, right? I just do the best I can, and I follow the science as best I can. and I just listen to what feels good for me, how I feel ultimately. But I don't try and push those views. And what's interesting is they will then try and push their views, or they'll tell you how you should be like, oh, you should do this.
Yeah. I just smile and laugh it off.
Yeah.
I don't let it bother me.
No,
That's
not
the
at all.
thing for longevity is just letting things roll off your back, being
Yeah,
positive,
100%.
being happy, only
Right.
nutrition and fitness, but your mental health, your social circle, so many things that are also important. If you're a gym rat, but you have no friends and you have no one to turn to talk about when you have a problem, that's not good. You
No.
need also the social aspect is
Yeah.
also part of health.
Yeah, I think a lot of longevity studies, a lot of them, what they do have in common is this big social circle, whether it's family or community, right?
Yes.
What's cool about is this lifestyle is that you meet people like I met you and so on. And I'm meeting people like that all the time. And most of my closest friends are on the same thing.
Yeah.
So we're like competing for who hiked this thing the fastest. And those are healthy things to go after. So if you guys want to do a run or whatever, a cycle tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Let's go hiking or whatever. It's a completely different group versus, hey, let's go get drunk. I was that guy too. I've been through that period myself.
Yeah, I still have my wine once in a while, but I don't get trashed. There's nothing wrong with that. In moderation, things in moderation, you can enjoy them for sure. But it's what you do consistently that's going to make the big difference.
I totally agree. So, Jackie, I know we're running short. You got 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to rapid fire ask you anything I can think of.
Okay.
Okay, so there was some controversy, if you're okay to discuss it, with respect to something you had said, or I think it was Layne or yourself, with respect to menopause or premenopausal. And do you mind talking to me about what happened? And this is literally a topic that I've been looking into myself.
Yeah. So actually, the post that I made was not about perimenopause or menopause, but that community of women were not happy with me.
It's ironic.
Yeah, I'm that part of that community. I'm one of you people. But basically what the post said, and it was based off of research, there's a meta-analysis study that says that our metabolism does not slow down until our mid-60s, right? So that was the reference point I was using. So it was a little tweet. I said, your metabolism doesn't slow down after the age of 40. The reason you're not losing weight or the reason you're not hitting your goals is because of your lifestyle. You're eating too much. You're not exercising enough, something to that effect. But yes, the perimenopause and menopausal community got very triggered and said, what about my hormones? And the research is not showing that it's the hormones. The research shows your metabolism does not slow down. It's not a metabolism thing. But what does happen is, and I'm a victim of this as well, I am in the throes of menopause. So I am having the hot flashes, not sleeping well. So what happens is, with a lot of these women, is they are having these symptoms, which are very real, but they're exhausted now. So because they're not mindful, they're resting, laying on the couch, having that glass of wine to unwind. And these things pile up and they start to gain weight. It's not because of that you're in menopause. It is lifestyle. And a great thing to do if you are a person in menopause is track your steps, make sure you're being active, make sure you're not overeating, make sure you're exercising. All of those things are going to play a role in what happens with your body composition.
So it is very much possible for women and women going through perimenopause or menopause to not only lose weight, burn fat, etc., but maintain their body composition, bone density, etc.
Yeah, even gain muscle. Like I personally didn't start lifting weights till I was 43. So the muscle I've put on has been in my 40s, and now I'm 50 and I'm still gaining muscle. Yeah.
Oh, look, anywhere near your age.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I want another episode where I can pick your brain specifically about what you do and put that out there, because I do those little mini bios on people and I call them super agers. The technical definition is more cognitive, but I like super agers because it's people who just they look, feel, and live much younger than their biological age, or sorry, chronological age. You definitely fall under that umbrella. So
Thank you.
no,
Yeah,
I'm not
I
gonna
feel great. I definitely feel great, but I contribute it to my lifestyle for sure, for sure. But yes, absolutely. And most of my clients are my age range in their 40s and 50s, and they're losing weight. They're gaining muscle. So it's very rewarding to see that they're making these positive changes in their life, especially as they age.
That's awesome. Now, do you ever get pregnant clients? Women starting, or they get pregnant while they're with you and in their maybe later stages of life? Because now I think statistics show it's much more common now for women to get pregnant a little later in life than they used to. Meaning before.
Actually, when I worked in the hospital, I worked in labor and delivery. So I had patients in their 30s and their 40s. I even had patients in their 50s having babies. Some of them are an oops. And some of them was a conscious decision. They wanted to focus on their career first and focus on that before having children. But yeah, you definitely can. There is higher risks, of course, after the age of 35. There's more risks for genetic diseases, things like Down syndrome, that kind of thing. So women that are over 35 need a little bit more testing done. But yeah, they're able to do it. My last baby, as a matter of fact, I had at 40 years old. So yeah, he's going to be 10 next month.
That's awesome. And what do you change anything with respect to their macronutrients? Does anything change with their physical exercise?
If they're pregnant, then that's not the time to diet. So if they're pregnant, we want them at least at maintenance calories for the first couple of trimesters of maintenance calories. They can continue to exercise. So that is a myth. You can exercise all the way up to your delivery date. Unless you have a complication with your pregnancy, then that's a different story. But if you have a healthy pregnancy, you can exercise all the way to the end. After you have the baby, then if you're breastfeeding, once your milk supply is established and all of that, then you can go ahead and tackle a fat loss phase if you would want to. But definitely not during pregnancy or in the beginning stages right after having the baby if you're trying to breastfeed. You need those extra calories to support that.
And for exercise, would you say resistance training, but maybe not go extremely heavy where you're like trying to go hit PRs every week?
Yeah, probably in the first 2 trimesters. The only thing that they shouldn't do are ab exercises flat on your back. Because the weight of the uterus will interfere with circulation. So they can't do crunches and that kind of thing after month 5 of the pregnancy. But anything else they could do if they have no complications with their pregnancy. And then towards the end, it just might be uncomfortable because of the size of the belly. It might be uncomfortable to do certain movements. So I would say, depends on the person, how they feel. But if they're an athlete that's been exercising their whole life and they feel absolutely fine doing back squats while pregnant, and they could do it with good form and they have no complications, they could do it.
Okay, Jackie, I know you got to run. Couple of minutes. I do appreciate your time and your wisdom and your knowledge. Very much appreciate that. Sure. Where can people find you?
Yes. So they can find me. My Instagram page is at Nutrition with Nurse Jackie. They can find me on the Biolayne website, biolayne.com. They can put in a request in there to work with me if they would like that. And they can also find me on my email, Jacqueline@biolayne.com.
Okay, now I'll put those all in the notes for sure as well.
Oh, it's so nice chatting with you.
I got more questions.
Okay, we'll do a part 2 then.
All right. Thank you so much.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It really helps me grow the podcast. Remember to sign up for my free 5 Health Hacks newsletter. You can head over to youthfulagingsecrets.com/subscribe and join for free. Stay healthy, and I'll see you on the next one.